and indeed did. Second out, round 2, because this is the second episode of The Business of Boxing, with me, Steve Swift. Steve Swift, the denizen of boxing detail. And also brought to you by Law, The Law, which is live audio wrestling, and also by Steve Swift Rambling Reviews, which of course is my podcast. Now, I bang on about the business of boxing affecting the boxing of boxing, and I'm glad to say there was a fight this weekend in which the boxing of boxing was not affected by the business of boxing. I don't remember the combatants shoving each other at the press conference. I don't remember them talking to each other nastily on X or Insta, or TikTok or anything like that, saying he's not fit to lace my boxing boots or anything like that, or I'm going to knock him out, anything like that. Sounded a bit Tyson Fury, that, didn't it? More of that later on. There will be some. There's bound to be some. And I'm talking about Canelo Alvarez versus Jaime Munguia. Now, it was a fascinating situation because Canelo is now a seasoned professional, 33 I think he is, and Dmitry Bivol, I believe, humbled him when they met recently. Dmitry Bivol gone missing now. I expected big things from Bivol, and he was going to have a really big fight, but that's been postponed. More of that in a minute as well. Oh, I'm teasing you. Anyway, back to this great fight, because Canelo Alvarez was a volume puncher, and now is no longer a volume puncher, and that sometimes works if you can change things up, and if you're not facing someone like Jaime Munguia, who is a fighter. Now, before we go on with that, that's not what it is. That's not the way the fight occurred. Because Jaime Munguia and trainer, Freddie Roach, I think it is, isn't it, had learned new things. So, rather than go out and fight and beat him up and try and, well, not beat him up, but try and push the pace, try and be the one on top, rather than doing that, he actually was on his toes, really good movement, and used the jab to keep Canelo off. Canelo's a great counter-puncher, as we know. And Canelo, at the beginning of the fight, I think, was really rather taken by surprise. Sometimes a slow starter. And I think Jaime Munguia thought, well, I'll have a go. Maybe I'll do something spectacular. And he could have done, I think. In that fourth round, was it? No, it was the third round, wasn't it? A combination rocked Canelo, I believe. And if the instincts of him being a fighter, and he wasn't showing that in this fight, if those instincts had still been there, I do believe that Munguia might have done some serious damage. However, he rocked Canelo towards the end of that round and then danced away. Danced away from Canelo and didn't close it out. Now, I'm not saying he could have closed it out. We'd never know, will we? But I thought, go on, have a go. It wasn't that kind of fight for Munguia. He was really trying to show his boxing skill. Not wrestling skill, that would be different. There wasn't any of that, by the way. Just to say, there wasn't any kind of much clinching. There wasn't any of that. I don't think there was any of it, actually. It's a great fight. This was a great fight for the boxing of boxing, because Munguia set Canelo a conundrum by saying, here I am, it's not what you expected. I am going to fight in a certain way. I'm going to be in and out. I'm going to keep you at range or out of range with my jab. Let's see what you can do. And Canelo took a few rounds, but Canelo eventually thought, I know what I need to do. I can solve this puzzle by power punching, but I've got to make sure those power punches are really accurate. Now, Canelo Alvarez is an extraordinary boxing talent, and so those power punches were incredibly precise. And he put Munguia down. I think it's for the first time in Munguia's professional career. In the fourth, he put him down. with a fantastic uppercut, brought him onto it, beautifully done. And Munguia didn't look so sure after that. But what Munguia did do was continue to punch. What Munguia did do was continue to trade with him. What Munguia did do was take hard punches fantastically well. And even in the 10th, 11th, 12th, he wasn't on his toes anymore because that barrage, and particularly a barrage to the body, more of that in a minute, really does get to you. But he still was throwing. And it really is testament to him. Now, that barrage to the body, double B, barrage to the body, was, it really affected Munguia. And it was incredibly precise. And because he had to keep his hand low to cover the body, I think it was about the 8th round, he was really open to the hook. And that is what Canelo Alvarez did. The hook, the short right hand, the uppercut in the early rounds, fantastic for him. And by the end of it, it was clear that the barrage of punches and the pressure had really broken Munguia's spirit. But it was a great fight because there was no business of boxing. There was just boxing of boxing. And I love it when a fighter sets a puzzle for another fighter who says, I've got the answer. Here it is. Now can you answer this one? I can't, and therefore I'll lose. And it was wide margins eventually on the cards. And David Benavidez awaits Canelo. That's going to be good. Benavidez is a big dude and a powerful dude. It'll be a different kind of fight, but this one was something special. So it was nice to start with the boxing of boxing, just to remind you that actually we do have the boxing of boxing and we do like the boxing of boxing because the business of boxing has been around quite a lot this week. Ryan Garcia. Yeah, don't roll your eyes. Ryan Garcia. Okay. The last edition of this, the first edition of this, I was talking about him missing weight against Devin Haney. I was talking about him not being able to fight for the titles. I was talking about maybe he thinks the brand doesn't need titles, but then he came out and said, I'd like to fight Sebastian Fundora, move up in weight, difficult to get to 140. That much was clear. And maybe I'll fight Sebastian Fundora. And people were saying, well, you did so well against Devin Haney, knocking him down 4 times and winning. Not unanimously, but winning. That really that would be good. And it looked like he had been not rehabilitated, but that all those feelings about, well, you had 3 pounds extra, so I don't really think that Devin Haney had much chance there. And also you weren't fighting for the title, so who cares? All of that was changing until we found that VADA, the drug testing organisation, boxing, had found that he had tested positive before and indeed after the fight for Ostarine. Now, Ryan Garcia has been on social media with a video saying they're all against me. That feeds into that kind of they're against me. You know, the things about kidnapped by the Illuminati and all that kind of thing. They're against me, and we don't know if it actually is Ostarine. We know that Jake Paul has spoken to him, and he said, "You know me, I've never taken a steroid in my life. I wouldn't know where to get them." That's what he said on his video. He finished by shouting "F Devin Haney," I think, if I remember rightly. Not really apposite to the reason for why you're doing the video, Ryan, but he's got to give his B sample in. We may find that it's a tainted result. We may find that all we're going to be thinking is, it's a tainted result. Oh, tainted result. We might find that. And we might find that there's nothing to concern ourselves with. We were all getting heads up over nothing and clutching our pearls, or indeed our boxing mitt, boxing glove, for nothing. Oh, he's tested positive. Now, I could be one of those people doing that. But if it is found that he has tested positive, and he said, why didn't they tell me not to participate in the fight if I tested positive? Well, we've heard this cry before, and it's to do with bums on seats and all of that, and people already in the arena and all of that, isn't it? I'm sure it is. But if he doesn't give his B sample in, and he's got till the 11th of May, I think, so if he doesn't do that, so he's got about a week, hasn't he? If he doesn't do that, or if it's found that he has actually tested positive, then he's suspended. And what a silly boy. And all of that stuff around, well, maybe my brand, maybe I'll be pushing my brand. Well, it kind of worked for Conor Benn, but I'm not quite sure if it will work for Ryan Garcia, because, as I said before, at some point promoters are going to say, that's too much unpredictability. I don't, even in boxing, I don't think I can go for that. And I can't go for that. No, can do. Ryan, they might say that. They might quote Hall & Oates. I don't know. But that's where we are. The Ryan Garcia situation is the gift that keeps on giving in the business of boxing. And if he thought this was good for his brand, if anybody thinks this is good for his brand, it ain't. Definitely not. So we'll see what happens here, but we could be shuffling into the back of the pack if it's positive. Now, meanwhile, elsewhere, we've got Dmitry Bivol. Now, Bivol, supreme against Canelo Alvarez. Just supreme. And he was supposed to fight, because he's been quiet, really quiet. I think didn't he face Lyndon Arthur recently? Isn't that his last win? Lyndon Arthur. I mean, it's not as if he's... Was it Lyndon Arthur? I mean, he needs big fights, and he deserves big fights. I'm saying Lyndon Arthur isn't a great boxer. I'm saying he deserves big fights, Bivol. And this was going to be a big fight. It was Beterbiev. Artur Beterbiev, or Beterbiev if you like. Beterbiev is what people tend to say. But he's injured. And so we have Bivol still fighting, because he wants to fight on June 1st. But it will be against an untried fighter, really, Zinad. Now, I don't think anyone is going to go, oh, well, Beterbiev, that was the fight I was looking forward to, but this one, oh my word. So, Bivol, great fighter, and I just feel is being misused. This is not his fault, and it's not Artur Beterbiev's fault either. When they finally fight, it will be fabulous. But Bivol deserves so many plaudits. And I just think sometimes, I mean, it's a confluence of issues, isn't it? But I also think he's not being given what he deserves. Talking about being given what you deserve, and I'll finish with this, it's Tyson Fury. Now, I said last week, there hasn't been much from Tyson Fury. We haven't had, he's a dosser, I'm going to beat him, I'm going to knock him out, he's a dosser, and all that. He hasn't had any of that. And I thought that Tyson Fury was not really at the top of his game going into the Usyk fight. And what he's done, and I'm not sure if this is an example of that, or whether this is excellent business of boxing, mind games. He said that Usyk is a great fighter and given him real respect and said it's a really difficult fight for me. And I don't know whether that makes me think he's preparing us, he's managing our expectations. I am one of the people who doesn't think he'll win. I think Usyk is supreme. I think he's a cruiserweight. I don't think he's a middleweight, which is what Tyson Fury calls him. I don't think he's a dosser. I don't think he is either. But Tyson Fury once said, if he had a meat cleaver in one hand and a baseball bat in the other, Usyk still couldn't beat me. I think he can. And I think one of the reasons why, and Frank Warren has underlined this, Queensbury Promotions, should I say, has underlined this. He's lost weight, you see, Fury, and I said this last week. It's just been underlined that he thinks that Fury will beat Usyk at his own game. No. I said this last week. No. You're the bigger man. You're 6'8". He is a cruiserweight, Usyk. Lean on him and tire him out and work the body. you're going to dance with him. Well, I'm not sure that you're really that good at the salsa, particularly. Your waltz could do with a bit of a brush up as well. I don't think you can dance with him. And I'm not sure whether all this, well, he's really good and it's very difficult, is, as I say, him managing expectations and already getting his losing speech in about, well, it was very difficult and this is me retiring and really sorry, but he was better than me. And that humility is just preparing us, or whether that humility is false. And he's going to wait for Usyk to come back to say, thank you so much, very kind of you. You're a dosser! You're a dosser! You see, I followed you in. Psych, you're a dosser. I don't know. But it's interesting, isn't it? And just when I said we don't have much Usyk stuff, or much Tyson Fury stuff, because he would be the one making those comments, and he would be the one winning before he goes to the first round. We don't have a lot of that. In comes this. And I didn't expect it. And that's the general feeling. People didn't. It could be a masterstroke. It could be. Or it could be him preparing us for what's to come. Interesting. And more next week, because inevitably there is. Ta-ta.